Assunta Ing, thank you for joining us. You have been in this community now for, boy, what is it, for more than
40,
40,
40 years.
40
40
years.
years. Okay.
And the one thing that I have to say about you is that you are relentless and in every way, because the Seattle Chinese Post, the Northwest Asian Weekly, the community would not be served without you being so relentless to establish what you've done and to keep it going. Where did that relentless attitude of yours come from?
When I first started, I wasn't that way. I wasn't relentless, but I have a lot of drive, to start newspapers. I just feel that it's my mission to serve the community just because the community didn't have a Chinese newspaper for the immigrants. And then a year later, I started the Asian Weekly because a lot of American born Chinese, first Chinese, and then Japanese Americans, and then Filipino Americans say, we need the English edition. What is it in the Chinese Post you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. We need to know what's in that paper. So all these people give me a whole lot of input. And then I said, okay, I'll do it. So that's it. I start the Asian Weekly. At that time, it was called the Chinese Post English edition without any plan or extra finance. I just do it. So I think the important thing to remember is that if you want to do anything, don't worry about what people think, people's approval. What if I fail? What if I couldn't make it? All these are distractions. You just say do it and then do it.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't have a plan, but everything just worked out. And
So,
at that time, you remember there isn't any Google. There wasn't any Google. So I had
Right.
to go by my instinct how to put everything together and then recruit people to help me along the way.
so do you have a background in journalism? Is that what you studied in school, or how did you come about having a passion to do news?
Actually, my major was international studies, but I wanted to study journalism. So what I did was in my junior and senior year, I studied journalism classes. That is good because you don't have the restriction of being in a department fulfilling all kinds of requirement that I didn't want.
Hmm.
So I took their classes and they welcome outsiders to take the classes. So you can say that I have a minor in journalism. But then my first job was a school teacher. Somebody say, hey, there's a job at the Mercer Junior High School. Why don't you apply? So your first job, you don't have a lot of choices, right? You need to survive. So the job seems very challenging and very interesting. So I was a school teacher in social studies for immigrants, Asian immigrants. So it paid my bills. But then at the end of 4 years of teaching, I just felt that I wasn't growing enough. I mean, sure, I learned a lot about education and the system and how to fight for immigrant parents, but I just felt personally I wasn't getting to the kind of growth I expect myself to achieve. So then I went back to school for a master in communications. And then during my college years, I volunteered for the Seattle Chinese Radio. So I wrote plays and also I wrote news stories in Chinese. Okay. So with those background, and I knew the immigrant community was going through very tough time due to the language and the cultural barrier. So then at one point in my life, I said, what can I do to make a difference? And all of a sudden, I don't know why, the newspaper idea came. And then I said, oh, okay, that's it. I want to start a Chinese newspaper. And then I didn't know anything about the community. I was an outsider. And my husband didn't really say yay or nay, so I took that as approval. I went all around and then had a very unprofessional flyer giving out to the community, Chinatown, telling them I was going to start a Chinese newspaper. And the reaction of many of the community members and the businesses were not good. And later I found out why. Why?
Why was that?
That because people were nervous that I had my personal agenda. Then in one community meeting, all of a sudden I said, hey, by the way, I have no political agenda, not pro-China, not pro-Taiwan. I'm politically neutral. Everybody applaud. Can you imagine? That's the reason. That was the reason that people was nervous about that I would use it as a political propaganda to divide the community.
Well, at that time, politics-wise, I mean, a lot of the Asian communities didn't necessarily trust media because of where they came from, right?
Yeah.
But how hard was it for you to get a seat at the table with the white press in Seattle, to be accepted with like the Seattle Times and all the other papers?
No, I don't get accepted. What are you talking about? You never get acceptance, But then when I met the Seattle Times people, I told them, hey, boy, the Asian community seems to be hungry people, because the only thing you cover about the Asian community is about food. You don't have any other
That's pretty important, though.
Us. Isn't that true?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, you don't know anything about us. You only want to cover the food aspect and the culture. But in our culture, there are actually many aspects. So I tried my best to educate informally when I met with my colleagues, mainstream colleagues. But then something happened in 1983 that was shocking to the whole world. And that was the Wame massacre.
Yes.
13 people got killed in the Chinatown gambling den. And so overnight, the national media, the local media, they all came to us asking for help. I remember Lori Matsukawa, call me and say, hey, I need to interview new immigrants here. Can you fix it up for me? I did. So the AP, the national radio, Newsweek magazine, they all came and say, hey, what's going on? Because before they had not done any coverage on the community. So they really had no idea how to get in. So I was the leading person to communicate for them and be a bridge for the Chinese community and the mainstream community.
Tell us how you ended up coming to this area. You were born in China?
Yes.
Okay. And you grew up where?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So how does a nice Chinese girl who grew up in Hong Kong end up coming to the Northwest?
Oh, well, it was a long struggle with my parents. My parents, they were very traditional Chinese. So I was the oldest daughter. So I decided that it was not a good environment for me to stay in Hong Kong. And I asked my parents to let me come to America to study. And the answer was, right? No. Okay. No. But I fought really hard. And I protest by not speaking at home. Sit for months at home, not talking. If my relatives or my parents asked me anything, I would nod or I just wouldn't speak. So they finally realized that I was very unhappy. And then my mom actually convinced my stepdad to let me come to America. So I learned that, if you persist long enough, you'll finally get your wish, I guess.
Were you always so strong?
No, I was a scared little chicken when I was a little girl, because my parents had every say about my life. So I don't know why all of a sudden I was so brave. But I learned that, a no it's not always a no. It's at the beginning, but you can always change it from a no to a yes, bit by bit, day by day. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's never an easy route for any person of color in America. I mean, what you have to do to struggle to survive it's tough. Um,
Mhm.
Well, and you're an immigrant,
yeah.
and you're an
Yeah.
immigrant in a new country. So how did you end up at the University of Washington? Because you came and you ended up
Oh,
studying there.
I had no idea about UW, but then I came to Seattle accidentally. I was going to Portland, but it passed through Seattle. There was no direct flight from Hong Kong to Portland. I had to go to Portland. I got accepted over there. And then the plane landed in Seattle, and I saw Seattle and I fell in love. I said, I had to come here someday.
Yeah.
So after 1 year, I applied to UW and I got accepted. Yeah.
I'm from Portland, so I know what you mean. Seattle's a
Small
better
town
place.
in Portland, so I couldn't take
Well,
it. I
well,
mean,
there's
I'm
no
used to,
Chinatown left in Portland.
yeah,
There's culturally it's different.
exactly. I know. So I like big city because I was raised in Hong Kong, a very big city.
Assunta, where did this relentless drive come from that
Yeah,
you
going back
have?
to your question, relentless. Um, I wasn't grown to be a relentless person. I mean, it just that as I guess the newspaper make me to be the person that I am today. The community sort of raised me. That you are doing things that you shouldn't be doing. You were told shouldn't be doing it. And I thought, why not? That's the key. When people say you shouldn't start a newspaper, then my reaction is, why not? And I don't take it personal. A lot of the good friends at that time say, hey, you're going to fail, you're going to be miserable, you're going to lose face. And that's the worst thing about Asian Americans, because they were so afraid of losing face and not getting people's approval. I would say that if I fail, it's no big deal. Everybody fail quite a few times in their life. In fact, the more times you fail, the more you can take it. And
Right.
it gets easier, and you can bounce up as much as you can, and you don't take yourself seriously. And now, whenever people criticize me, I learn one defense is laugh it off. Oh, that's funny. That's great.
Well,
criticize
yeah,
me. That's great. You pay attention to me.
I think you can learn from failure because
Exactly.
as hard as it is, and it is hard, you learn about adversity and you learn about how to come back, and you learn, I think, things. And so I guess, what have you learned in all of the challenges that you've faced?
Wow. That's a tough question. I guess I learned many things. I learned a lot from Matt Chan.
Oh my gosh.
Chan, my role model, and his wife Gi Chan. You guys were not community activists before, right?
No.
No. So, but when there is something not right, you want to fight it, you want to fix it. And so that's what happened to me all these years. When you see something not fair, you say, why does this have to be done that way? Why not the other way? Have anybody asked us what we like? Have anybody asked the community what the community want to see happening? I think that's exactly what Matt Chan and Gi Chan did last time to get rid of the Sodo homeless shelter. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we were not born to be activists or community advocates. We learn by looking at things and say, hey, how come nobody asks us if we like this or if you want this? And if somebody wants to do something with the community, you have to come and work with us. You have to come and listen to us. So it's important for us to get a seat at the table. Anytime, any issues, we need members of our community to participate, to have a voice and give feedback to the other side. Because if you don't do that, you lost your voice immediately. because people will take you for granted. And then the next time around, they would do more worse things. Okay.
Yeah.
So every time there is something happening, we just respond to it, and always respond with compassion and thoughtfulness, and how to work with the other side. I think that's how I learned, and I think it's important to pay attention to politics, because immigrants in general, they are afraid of politics.
Yeah.
But see what happened this year, Matt?
Yeah. Well,
The
it's
immigrants,
interesting.
They are enthusiastic to go to King County Council meetings and city council meetings. They are getting out of their holes, because they have learned that it didn't work to just hide yourself in a nutshell.
Well, but
No?
that's been traditionally how, Asian minorities have gotten by, right? They just
Yeah.
kind of, underneath everything, they prosper, but they never raise their voice.
Yeah.
And I think right now they're realizing the political power and the financial power a lot of Asians have. And, it's time they harness that.
Yeah. And the other thing is, many of the immigrants or Asian Americans, they feel that, I don't have time to get involved.
Yeah.
I'm too busy making money. Excuse me, if you don't participate, you're not going to be able to keep your job. How about that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's very practical.
Those people that came to us and said, I got job discrimination. We did those stories before. So I learned, if these people, they don't know how to work through the system, but I'm glad they came to us before. Where did they go? They go nowhere. They don't know how to complain. Our people, they're too nice. They don't complain. But over the years of the newspaper, they would send us all kinds of things, email to us, letter to the editor. They don't sign their name, but at least we get to know what's going on, and there is injustice in some workplace, and we are able to do stories on job discrimination and all that. And so when I empower the community, I am empowering myself, you see.
Yeah.
So after 40 years, there's been a dramatic change with the newspapers.
Yes.
That came as a shock to a lot of people.
Was it a shock to you?
A little bit. Some of it was because I know how hard it is to have a media company these days. Just the financial stresses of the cost and the toll the pandemic took on all communities of color. So I was a little surprised, but after all these years, why did you decide that, maybe it's time to change things up a little?
Yeah, it's both personal and it has also to do with the media business itself. Personal, because I have to take care of family members' health. Okay, that's personal. And the second reason to do with the newspaper industry, the changing times. Newspapers are going through decline. There's no question about it. It doesn't matter what people say, but the truth is, everything is on this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
social media.
You can't ignore it, but it is, because you look at the numbers. Our readership are going old. They're getting very old. Okay. Some readers have subscribed to our papers from the day one, the first issue of the Chinese Post. So 40 years ago, they were young, but now they are very old, like me. Okay.
Like us.
So you're ceasing publication of a print publication of the Seattle Chinese Post.
Yes.
And the Northwest Asian Weekly.
Yes.
But you're continuing online.
Online in the Asian Weekly only.
Oh, okay.
So let me finish explaining. Okay. Changing times. So the numbers are going down, okay, for the print. And the only number going up is Asian Weekly online. And those are good numbers. So you have to believe in data. So the data is telling you something and you have to go with it. So during the pandemic, we had hell for 3 months. Okay. We thought that we are going to shut down because there were no business. Okay. There were tons of stories. To my surprise, I thought we will have no stories because we were locked down at home, but I was wrong. Lots of story ideas during the pandemic, but no business. And we were hurting so badly, losing a lot of money. We lost tremendously financially. But then pretty soon, all the good news. People used to pay us late, pay us early. Those that didn't cancel their ads, maybe they were afraid we couldn't make it. They better pay us fast. I don't know. We never pushed them. We just did business as usual. People start calling us. What do you need? Can I help you? I was very surprised. At the end of May, there were quite a few people came out of the blue and support us with big advertising money. And some people even want to give me money without us doing anything for them. And then, of course, the PPP loan came through and it was great. And so from that on, I would say, thank you, America. Because it was so wonderful. Everybody was so wonderful. And this country was so great and is so great and has been good to me,
Well, it speaks to how, you're revered and the newspapers are revered in the community. It's important.
Assunta, let me ask you about your staff. How many people do you employ?
We have 16 full-time and part-time, and that includes delivery people.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to go back a little. If we stop the print for both versions, while we are doing fine financially, I use that money to offer a financial package for the people who won't have a job after this shutdown. So it's no brainer. Then I thought I should do it now because during the pandemic, we get all kinds of big ads, all the health ads. We got federal, county, city, the state. But now the pandemic, everybody said is over. So we're going to lose those ads. So we will not be as financially strong as the last 2 years. So if we are going to use all those money because our business has not been as good as the last 2 years, why not use the money to give to my staff that I'm going to lay them off because we don't have the print in the Chinese Post? Give them the financial package now. These people have been with me for 30, 20 some years. They deserve it. But if I go on, continue using those money to print every week, it's labor intensive, it's cost intensive. What is it going to do good for my people? And it won't do the community any good either because the Chinese Post readers are getting old.
So you have to really you have to respond to what the market is doing. And you have to just have to do it. That's the way all media is doing now. But it also just puts an onus in telling you how important your local media is, but also the challenges they really face. And the thing about it is that you're the one that's out there really, and I'm sure you have staff people as well, that, you're not only reporting stories and writing stories, you're keeping up the business. You're out there looking for people that are going to do the ads and all of those things to keep you afloat.
Yes. Yeah. So why not shut down when we are in a good place? And we are in a good place. I'm proud of it. My people are proud of it. And my people are happy with my decision. Yeah. They even helped me to plan it out, the timeline. I did not say, well, let's have the announcement the last week of December. That's not my plan. My employees helped me to plan out step by steps. And they were the ones that voted that we will stop next week, the last issue, because it's our Chinese Post 41st anniversary and Asian Weekly 40th anniversary. So it's Lunar New Year. Let's get out at a good time.
Yeah.
I just feel so good. I feel really good. I know some people are very depressed. No, I have one reader that I met 40 years ago. We become friends, and I don't want her to read it in our newspaper. And I call her. I said, we're going to shut down. You know what she said? You're giving me a heart attack. I'm serious. And I said, no, it's time.
Yeah.
And then later she understood.
But the Northwest Asian Weekly will continue.
Yeah, but the older people still want that feeling of having the print. I do too.
Yeah.
So I read the print and also read online. But a lot of people just cannot make the transition. I understand. I mean, because the print product is much more creative. We play with it a lot of times. We love the print product because it's on top of our creativity. As I see my layout people, how they played up all the content and how I make my mark in every issue, because I would tell them, hey, I like the headline to be lower, and I like to change the words. I like the pictures to be bigger or smaller, or, go large or whatever. It's fun to do the print edition, but that's not practical. That's not going to help us to survive.
Yeah.
So, the 40 years, I think this past year has been really important in the community. I mean, and I don't know if you agree with that, but
yes, I agree.
In the times I've been in, I've been in Seattle, 27 years now. And I've never seen more existential kind of events that could actually harm this community. I mean, what's your take on where we're at on all of this and what the past year was like?
I've not seen the community so gutsy. I've not seen that happening before, but I can explain that maybe because they have been shoved to the point that they can't take it anymore. Mm-hmm. Because of all these things going on over the years, people just ignore us. It's as if we were tramps, we were nothing. But finally, our community became so angry. And then, of course, our continued coverage of what's going on, make people feel that, hey, don't treat us like that. We can't take it anymore. So this is like a very critical year in terms of bringing awareness and action-oriented. Before, they were very angry. They find out they got angry, but then there was nothing being done. But now they take action, because I think through your leadership, they learn that they can actually do something by participating in the political process.
Well, one of the things that I tried to do that I thought was sort of unique was I always observed a lot of groups using the residents and the seniors in Chinatown as props, right? They just said what about these people? And I said, yeah, what about them? Let them talk. Let them express themselves, give them a reason to show up. And they did. That's what was amazing to me.
Yeah.
The first rally we did, I didn't expect them to march.
Yeah.
They were in walkers with canes, whatever, and they just all got up and left. And I was stunned.
But you have to realize a lot of these seniors, they are afraid to come out. Mm-hmm. Because of the homeless people around, this homeless attacking the seniors. So your match actually gave them unity of spirit, being together, so they are not afraid when they are together. So that awakened them to the point that if we are together, we don't need to be feared. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's important. You can't do it alone. So they learn something. When you want to get something done, you do it together, so your voice is more powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. That's number one. But the other thing I want to stress that go back to the newspaper business. We have to shut it down because I I know if I say this, a lot of the people would say that I am against the homeless. I am not against the homeless, but they have been destroying our news box, stealing our news box. They were the ones that Bartel got shut down. You know, one of the good place for us to distribute our newspaper is Bartel drugstore. I I'm just I was very happy whenever I walk by and see the working class people pick up our newspaper when they were waiting for the bus stop and they went inside Bartel. The working class people, the security for the bus stop, the drivers, they pick up our newspapers, black and white, yellow, brown, they pick up our newspaper to read. So I was very sad when the Bartel business got shut down because that cut our circulation. And when they used the news box for their storage, they stole them. I don't know where they were. They disappeared or used them as personal closet or storage for drugs. Then it affected our circulation. So that's why our numbers in the ID have been going down too, because we used to have a lot of news boxes, but because these news boxes have been so beat up, so we can't even have the papers inside for them. So we have to distribute outside more, and that's very costly when we distribute our increased circulation outside. Not that I don't want to distribute outside, but it's very expensive for us.
So you've really had a kind of a perfect storm happen here, from COVID to then obviously the impact of the homeless and unhoused situation that has really affected not only the ID and your business, but everybody's businesses. And I think the city has been just, not just Seattle, I might say. If you look to San Francisco or Portland and other cities across the country, the impact of all of this has been felt financially, and also it's presented some serious challenges, I think, to businesses everywhere.
Yes.
So
and they walked by the ID and they said, why are these businesses still boarded? Now the pandemic is over, Black Lives Matter over, you should take down the boards. Oh, but you didn't know that as soon as they take down, somebody broke their glass. Some businesses have broken glass on their storefront as many as 7 times. Every time you replace those storefront glass, it's like $1,000 and over each. So how are they going to take down the boards? It doesn't look good on our community, but what can you do for small businesses? Even though the city is giving out grants, but you can only replace it so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these crimes, I don't know, it has to do with police shortage or police can't come right away, but it's still going on in our community. What are we going to do? I know the mayor has good intentions, but we still not need a lot of protection here and patrols here to make our residents feel safe, that they can go out anytime they want, and for visitors to come to patronize the restaurant like after 11 or 10, otherwise without the presence of police, people are afraid of coming down and afraid of going out of their homes.
But there's groups of community people that don't want police. I mean, how do we reconcile that as a community?
Well, these people don't have businesses here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not their money they're talking about. If they have a storefront here, tell me how you feel when you have the glass being broken 7 times within a few months. It's not your money.
Yeah.
You don't care about other people's business or money.
Well,
right?
I don't know if they don't care, but they don't understand how it works, right? the culture, the Chinese culture, the Asian culture has been fueled by individual entrepreneurialism, right? They build their stores and then they educate their children. Their children go on to do other things. And after a while, as that goes out, they kind of forget where they came from, right? I mean, they may have a job with Microsoft or Amazon. They don't have to worry about making payroll, and they don't understand what it took to get them there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real important story that they need to hear.
Well, they need to talk to the seniors.
Yes.
The seniors will tell them they want the police. They want the police presence so they can feel safe to get out of their home, of their apartment. You know, I understand what they're thinking. There were bad cops. There's no question about it. But you cannot say in a one paintbrush, every cop is a bad cop. I have cops that help us. You know, I have cops that came to our businesses, you know, when there are some people messing up outside and upstairs people are scared to get out of the building. We have cops respond to us. So we have cops that help me when my husband fainted a couple of blocks, help me to come back to my home, come back to the office. So you can't just say every cop is a bad one. There are good cops. We just have to point out and understand and work with the good ones, right?
Yeah.
It's unfair to say every cop is a bad one.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ahead.
I was just going to ask you.
The cops' presence, then all the criminals say, "Good, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Young people, tell the cops don't come. We will come and take care of the business and empty all the stores."
Do you have hope yet for things to get better?
Oh, I always had hope. I have hope, or else I won't be here for 40 years, right? I mean, look at us. We started from very humble beginning in a basement underneath the Bush Hotel, 400 square feet. And then we moved to the place, the former Winglook Museum office. And then we come to our own building. That's not a small thing, you know what I mean? So there's always hope. You know, we started with nothing and we work hard, we build ourselves up, and the community believe in us, and a lot of people help us. It takes a village to raise a newspaper, and it takes a village to raise young people. I just want to tell the young people, don't just be one-track mind. Open your hearts and mind and work with diverse people in the community. I mean, be able to listen. Don't just make up your mind and say, "Hey, you are wrong, I am right." That's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
And always listen to other people and find common ground. I think that's the key. I think being in the newspaper, you asked me, one lesson is able to listen. I disagree with a lot of people. I would say a lot of people we shouldn't cover their stories, but that's being close-minded. You know, you don't have to print stories just about people I like. No, we print all kinds of stories, people that I disagree with, but it's important to hear why they think that way, why they behave the way they do, you know. So the newspaper itself opened my mind. So I would say most of the people in the Asian Weekly are not the people I agree with. We don't see eye to eye, and that's okay. That's the beauty of bringing people together, of all kinds of voices and beliefs. You just have to open your heart and mind to the other people. And that's how we build community. It's not to be one-track mind.
Wow.
So you have now reached this point. I guess what's ahead for you? What do you see going forward?
Yeah. I want to travel a lot more. there are many places in the world that I have not seen. I'm working on another scholarship funds for UW. So we already did 5 scholarship endowments at UW and Seattle College. But I want to do one more for UW. So I'm working on this one right now. In fact, a group of community people, they are organizing an appreciation dinner for me and my husband. And so I would use that as a way to raise a little money for UW Department of Asian Languages and Literature.
Well, wow.
Are you looking for someone to take over things?
Yes. That would be nice to find a successor so I can mentor and train so I can do less. But I will keep writing. I will still writing, keep writing. I think that's important to me because I do have a unique perspective. And in fact, I just finished a fun piece about Bruce Lee. So read it this week, okay?
Well, thank you, Assunta, for 40 years of documenting our culture. I mean, it's been so important. And you know, it's going to continue on, but you know, it's different now. But thank you for all your effort.
Assunta, thank you for being so relentless. You're the one person I can truly say it's hard to ever say no to you. In fact,
oh really?
Yeah, oh yeah, because you don't give up. When you ask somebody to do something, you don't give up, and that's a tremendous trait. But also, what Matt said, you've given so much to the community, and not just the Chinatown International District. I think you have given so much to the greater community for them to understand the CID and to value it. So thank you for everything you've done, and just keep going. Yeah, I know you're not going to stop. So Assunta Ng, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.